Welcome back to the Mom Life Podcast. We have another mom here to discuss our weekly topic with, and she's going to have a lot of good insight that I think all you other mothers will be able to find some relatability to. And that is stress.
Stress, yeah.
Ever heard of it?
No, never.
Well, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Katrina.
Sure. I am Katrina Hodis. I am a mom and wife. I've been married to my husband for 27 years, and I have two adult children in their 20s. I started at Pulse 2 years ago, a little bit. I also work full-time as an account manager for a lab distribution company. So that requires travel, a little bit of travel and at-home work. And just happy to be here.
So, well, thanks for coming. Like I said, you'll have plenty of relatable topics to discuss when we talk stress. You know, there's nobody that doesn't have it, and some, you know, it's what we do with it that's important. And you've went down the pathway of handling it not so great to now I think you have a really good handle on it based on some of the things that have come up over the last year and a half, and to see you still being successful. So I'd say let's go back in time before we even knew you. And, you know, like I said, that was when we first sat down. Stress was one of the biggest things that we talked about before we even got started, and, you know, how you handled it and how you didn't handle it.
Right.
So I'll let you kind of tell your story about how you how you handle it, or how stress controlled you.
Right. So before coming to Pulse, stress definitely controlled me. I had dealt with weight gain, weight loss, yo-yoing, diets, fads, all the things. And stress definitely ruled a good portion of my life when my kids were younger, and going through the mom scenario of husband traveling for work, working full-time, raising kids, and doing all the things. And that led to weight gain, that led to not feeling the best about myself, and not really knowing how to handle eating with stress and dealing with good things to manipulate stress, or not necessarily manipulate, but to reduce stress. So it led to leading to a lot of eating and maybe not handling things in the best way, and just kind of going status quo. Would start a gym, stop a gym, would start a diet. You name the diet, I probably tried it, and would have short-term results, but then would come back, and the weight would come back, and just kind of would continue on. So when I look at the 15 years prior to coming to Pulse, I probably didn't deal with stress the best, just because I dealt with it in ways that weren't healthy for myself.
Gotcha. Are you willing to share any of those, like, you know, kind of what did it look like on a personal level?
Sure.
If you don't mind, like I said, everybody out there, you know, there's so many people that are going with it, and to just know that other people have had this same thing that I had, and now you don't have to worry about it so much is, you know, really important, versus, you know, sometimes just general just doesn't hit quite as hard as specific.
So specifically when I would be stressed with work, kids, activities, I would be all in for everybody else. I wouldn't necessarily be looking at what I was needing to get through things, as well as stressful points would lead to overeating. If I had a bad day, it could turn into a bad week, a bad month, and then just not necessarily handling things in what can I do to reduce stress? What is really causing the stress? And what can my mindset be to overcome that? So it would be quick fixes that I would look for, but if I fell off the wagon, I fell off the wagon hard, meaning go to a gym, would do a little bit, and then I don't need to continue on. Eating, I would overeat and then continue to just stay down that path, because, you know, that was easy. It was the easy button.
And, you know, go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was just going to say, you mentioned a little bit about the food. Contrast those days. What would like a good day and then a bad day look like?
So when I was on the fad diet phase, from Weight Watchers or keto or different programs that I would do, if I stayed on, it would be a couple of good days, but then a bad day would look like just if I ate one bad thing, it could turn into multiple bad things. If it was a food, for me, happy occasions and sad occasions revolved around food. I could eat, whether it was an emotional roller coaster downhill or everything was great, and it wouldn't be good choices. That was the biggest thing, is it would be maybe carb loading, sugar tooth, those items that just I could spiral out of control very quickly, and then just give up. And then any of the weight that I had taken off would start to come right back on. And it was more stress related. And those items would just continue to spiral. So if it was a bad day, it would continue to be a bad day.
Were you aware at the time that it was stress?
I was, but I wasn't. I would just continue to go down the path, but in the back of my head, I knew it was stress, but I wouldn't do anything to relieve the stress. I wouldn't look at anything else other than compensating with bad activities and not necessarily good activities. And don't get me wrong, everything in my life was good. It wasn't like I knew that I was having those stress relievers. I think that's the difference, is if you can't, you just continue to go on, and you continue to go on, but you're tired. You're not feeling 100% because you don't realize that that's what you're
and that's the thing. Like, stress doesn't have to mean things are terrible. Like, it doesn't mean we're having a bad life.
I don't want to paint it that my life was bad,
but you're just like a lot of other moms. Like, they love everything about, except for they're not taking care of themselves.
Right. I was giving in to everyone else and making sure everyone else was taken care of. Work, family, everyone. But behind the scenes, I wasn't taking care of myself because I was using other outlets to make sure everybody else was taken care of.
Ultimately, that was probably the real missing piece, was you not taking care of yourself. Had you been taking care of yourself, you'd probably look at life and be like, wow, everything was really, really good.
Right.
While you'd still be stressed. Like, nobody's living a stress-free life.
And today, I still have those same stressors that I had back then. It's just I've learned how to deal with them.
So before we kind of get into that part, would you say you ever have identified yourself as a stress eater or an emotional eater?
Yes.
So I hear this from people all the time, and it's an identification it seems to be used in a way that if I just say that, it makes everything that I do okay. Because guess what? That's who I am. That's who I'll always be. And now I have the freedom to eat because I'm stressed, because that's just who I am.
Yep. So emotions play a huge part in how I handled food. Like I said, if it was a happy occasion, I would, let's bring on the spread. Let's eat. And I was an emotional roller coaster, and my outlet was food. I mean, it truly was going to the not good choices instead of learning how to compensate with other activities, so I didn't go to the snacks or the food. So
the cool thing is 2 years now that we've been working together, roughly. I don't know the exact start time. I'm terrible with dates.
September 15th, 2023.
Oh, wow. Nailed it. Happens to be good with dates, or this is a very memorable day for Katrina, is that, can you take that label off of yourself?
Yes.
And that's what I was really wanting to get, is that, like, if you are somebody who's identifying yourself as this person, it is possible to not be that person. Like, we don't have to stay stuck in this is just who I am mindset, and we can actually, practice things and, work on things to be able to say, I am no longer a stress eater. I'm no longer an emotional eater. And I imagine that's a very freeing thing to be able to say.
It is, and I think with the reason I know it was September 15th, 2023 is because I had toyed with talking to you probably for 6 months. I had seen different things come up on social media, that kind of thing, and I remember distinctly the day that I called you to ask about your program, to ask about the 12-week transformation that I started with on September 15th, and that's why I remember that date. And in dealing with certain aspects that we talked about, I learned that I was an emotional eater, and I already knew that, but I learned how to deal with it going forward. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, you know, that would be the thing that I would want people to understand is, like, we need to get rid of that I am this. I currently do, or yes, sometimes I do eat under stress, but this is something that everybody can learn to manage. And that's the, you know, why having you on is going to be such a great example is like, you know, sure, some people like we're 2 years in.
Right.
And you're still actually still improving on stuff and still getting better and still moving forward. So I think that's a long enough sample size to say, and especially when we we'll talk in some of the stresses that you've went through over the last 2 years and the fact that you've made it through those, life's not going to hit you with much more than what life has hit you with, and to still come out on the other side the right way.
Right. And I think life is always going to be life. Like you're always going to have stresses that come up, and learning how to deal with those has been so good for me in the last 2 years compared to how I was and how I would have handled it. No program had I worked with before had I had this longevity, and can still feel the growth and development that I've gained in the 2 years personally, and where I can continue to go with goals going forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just go back. I mean, right when you started, the first thing you're like, well, and it seems I've worked with like the last 3 or 4 of these people are the Kirkenfest presidents.
Right. Well, that's how I,
right. President or what are they
Chairman.
Called? Chairman.
Yeah.
Chairman. So anybody who wants to know if you want to be the Kirkenfest chairman, it comes with a lot of stress. I don't know who's next. Do you even know?
John Keevan.
All right. I expect to see John Keevan coming in anytime soon. No, I mean, I do know it comes with a lot of responsibility. It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job.
Right.
And to see you work through that and be super successful, because that was really when we first started.
Right.
I actually enjoy seeing people get thrown into the wolves when I'm working with them, because then I get to truly see, okay, they really are picking up, they are grasping the concepts, they are practicing and working through them, versus sometimes it's like, well, life was easy at that time. And they didn't really get hit in the face with anything to challenge them and see, okay, yeah, I do have this. And then you've also had, you know, some illness in the family, you know, that you had to deal with. I'll let you kind of tell a little bit about that.
Right.
And Kirkenfest, whatever, you know.
So when I contacted you in September 2023, I had just finished up one of the years of Kirkenfest, and I was exhausted, and I knew that I couldn't keep the pace that I had with the habits that I had. And so I contacted you to do the 12-week transformation, and then it turned into so much more, and it was so much more in depth than I ever would have thought that it was, that I learned a lot about myself. So last year, 2024, was probably one of the most difficult years for me, physically, mentally. All the things kind of came to a head between being the general chair of the Kirkenfest, which, you know, is a lot of extra time outside of your normal full-time job, and your full-time job as a member of your household. I had family illnesses happening that required a lot of my time, both mentally and to help on that aspect. And the old Katrina, prior to, would have, had I not been working with you and had the Pulse community of coming in to work out and working through the program, I very easily would have fallen back into the same trap of life is not so great at the moment. There's a lot of stressors happening. I'm going to go eat fast food. I'm going to divulge in a lot of sugary things because that's just easier. And that was easier at the time, instead of saying, what is causing this feeling, talking through it in a weekly format of getting better mindset, building habit stacking, and also just learning that going to take a walk could be the best thing for your mindset instead of going to the cabinet. Or there's just a lot of different factors. And I can tell you that the growth that I saw over 2024 compared to the year that I had with the stressors was huge. And this program helped that immensely, because otherwise I would have fallen back in the same habits that I had before.
And I know another stressor we hadn't even talked about, but you just recently dealt with, and I didn't even know. So I'm seeing you a lot of mornings when you're in here early. And until you started shifting schedules around and you were at different times, I know you're selling houses now.
Right, no, not selling houses.
I know,
yeah.
but you're
right.
helping family members. Oh, no, not that. But
that stress that I talked to you about as I was going through it.
Yeah, and this just started like you hadn't said a word. You were just managing everything. And I'm like, oh, well, you're here on a Wednesday. You're usually here on a Tuesday. Well, and it wasn't just helping sell a house. It was a house at a distance. So you're driving a lot. You're on the road, and then there were strings attached with that wholesale, and it wasn't an easy process.
Right.
But you were managing it seamlessly, and it wasn't until we talked about workout changes that it even came up.
Right. So, yeah.
So, like you said, it's been super impressive to see you manage all of this stuff, make the changes you've made, and change, really change everything about what you do on a day-to-day basis with your movement, your nutrition, and, still seeing you progress. I know we talked about 2-3 weeks ago, I guess. And, getting you to eat more is now the actual challenge. And noticing some of those, a few things kind of slip, but that's the good thing is it's easy to pick right back up. Like to get back on track is easy, and managing, the overeating is now under control, and then just making sure that we're eating enough is the priority. And you've done an amazing job. Obviously you look great. I don't know how much weight you said you've lost. Over 65
pounds at this point.
Over 2 years. So. And the cool part is it's just been a very just steady
and when I think back to why I wanted to come to Pulse, it wasn't I wanted to manage stress. It wasn't, it was the same thing that we've heard over the last few weeks that you talk about so much is I want to lose weight. But what I found was losing the weight was a quarter of what I really gained, just because that was part of it. But learning how to deal with certain things, learning about mindset, learning about habits, having a team that if things were not going well, we could talk about it as we work out, like, this is what's going on. Or, the checking back in with you a couple weeks ago, you were like, well, did you get, go back to your checking the boxes, go back, that kind of thing. And having all those tools to be able to work through the stress, that was a lot more than just the losing of the weight, because having a workout routine, I have never stuck with a 2-year workout routine. I could tell you probably since I was a high school athlete, just because it wasn't something else was always going on. So to have that as a priority has helped relieve stress even more so than just losing the weight.
Yeah, and that's what, unfortunately we have to tell, people want to know about us because there are so many moms and people are in your same situation. I just want to lose weight, and not knowing what they really actually want. And, eventually we get there and we hopefully show people and let them realize weight loss wasn't my number one thing that I needed. I needed all these other things. And then the cool part is when I figure those things out, then the weight loss starts to take care of itself. And that's not stressful. So many people stress about just trying to lose weight, which is just, now we just added stress on top of stress. Versus let's take that out of the picture, the focus on the weight loss, and just let it happen organically. And like you said, there's, I haven't noticed any signs of going up or going the wrong way over the last 2 years. It's just been a very steady, constant pace that you've been at and still moving forward. So it's really exciting to see. And, like I said, I think a lot of moms are going to benefit from hearing about all the stress that you said you're under, because they feel the same way. They feel overwhelmed. They feel drowning and don't know how to get out. And you just let them know that it's very possible, as busy and as stressed as they might be, it's possible to get out of that hole and stay out of it if we just change our mindset and stop, being, or I'm trying to think of the right word to say it, but being trapped in this is who I am and not being able to change that. So if you had to give one piece of advice to a mom that's kind of stuck where you were before you started, what would it be?
I think don't wait. I tended to put everybody first and kind of didn't have a program that helped me. I would say if you're thinking about it, reach out to someone to help you. The other thing is there's a lot of other aspects that help stress that I didn't even think of. I remember when we were building my weekly, what I was going to work on each week, and you said something about taking a walk, and I'm like, I don't really want to, I don't know. I saw a walk as like a workout. Like it was work to go take a walk. And you're like, can a walk be enjoyable? And it was like a light bulb went on, and I thought, well, yeah, I guess a walk can be enjoyable. So leaning towards some of those things for stress has also helped. So if you just take 5 minutes to do one thing for yourself, it will build upon itself. And the biggest thing is don't be afraid to reach out to people and that have a program to help you. Because trust me, doing it for 15 to 20 years on my own was a lot of yo-yo. And I wish that I would have started it sooner.
Well, thank you so much for being on and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I know a lot of women and moms are going to be able to relate to everything that you said, that they're going through it right now, and hopefully that they'll be able to take what you said and use it.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot, and congratulations on your journey.
Thank you.